Hello, Homebase Nation, and welcome to our fitness education for this Tuesday. My name is Jaime Fernandez, and I'm a strength and conditioning specialist at Homebase, a partnership of the Red Sox Foundation and Mass General Hospital. Today, we will be discussing a warm-up, the importance of a warm-up, and how to properly conduct a warm-up. For obvious reasons, the importance of a warm-up is to avoid injury. There are two very common injuries that occur when an individual or athlete does not properly warm up or neglects a warm-up altogether. These are strains and sprains. A strain is a rip or tear in the muscle or tendon, kind of like when you pull a hamstring. And a sprain is a tear or rip in a ligament, or kind of like when you roll your ankle. We can avoid these injuries by properly warming up, and we can do this by using the WarmUp protocol for the National Strength and Conditioning Association. WarmUp stands for raise, activate, mobilize, and potentiate. We want to raise the body temperature, or raise the temperature in the working muscles, the muscles that are going to be involved in the activity, the exercise, movements, or training sessions, to increase blood flow and make sure they are receiving the proper nutrients for performance. We want to activate the muscles or enhance their contractility. We want to have better muscular contraction within its own physiology to lessen the risk of injury. We want to mobilize the joints, or making sure that the forces put through the kinetic chain are dissipated in the proper manner and through the proper joints, whether it's through ground reaction force, the force of gravity, or any external forces we're utilizing for resistance training. And lastly, we want to potentiate the nervous system, or make sure that the nervous system is firing to the proper muscles in the right sequence at the right time to avoid injury and increase performance. As you can see here, I have two examples where the WarmUp protocol could be utilized for a proper warm-up. The first one is a cardiovascular bout for a 5K run. The second one is a resistance training session for a lower body lift. To raise the body temperature, you can pick any movements or exercises that are going to increase the heart rate, hence increasing blood flow and bringing nutrients to the active or working muscles. It does not have to be exercises or movements conducive to the training mechanics that's going to be performed or executed after the warm-up. When we get into activating muscles, then it gets a little more specific and has a little more carryover to the mechanics or the training that you're going to be doing after the warm-up. What that means is we're going to be activating muscles that are utilizing during running for the 5K run. We all know that we utilize the muscles in the front of the body or the anterior chain when we run, hence why I picked high knees for one of those movements. Inversely, we also use the muscles in the back of the lower body or the posterior chain when we run, hence why butt kickers has also been picked and put in that list. And lastly, when we run, as we strike forward, as our heel strikes forward and that foot comes forward, we normally rotate to the opposite side. So I actually want to get good activation of the muscles that actually create thoracic rotation. Those are the three main movers to activate muscles during a run. For a lower body lift, we're going to pick movements that we're going to be performing or executing during our actual lift, but with no load at all whatsoever. All body weight, the only resistance we have is gravity. Moving on to mobilize joints. Now we're getting even more specific to the carryover that we're going to be doing during the training session. So we're going to mobilize the hip and ankle when we run, but we're going to focus on the sagittal plane, on the front and back plane, because when we run, that's normally the plane we mostly run in. There is a little transverse why I had thoracic rotation, but it's mostly in the front and back plane. So we're going to go with the hip and ankle mobility, which means we can simply just flex the hip forward and extend the hip back. For the ankle, we're just going to bring that bone on top of the ankle joint forward and then take that bone on top of the ankle joint back. That's called dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and take a step forward and rotate to the opposite side and bring it back. As our heel strikes, we rotate, as I explained earlier, and bring it back. It's getting a little more specific to the mechanics of running as we move forward into the WarmUp protocol. For lower body, I have hip and ankle mobility, but we're going to be doing this hip and ankle mobilities in all three planes, meaning the sagittal plane, front and back plane, the frontal plane, left and right plane, and the transverse plane or the rotational plane. So we can utilize the same hip and ankle mobilities that we did for the running mechanics, but we're also going to do hip and ankle mobility in the frontal plane, or kicking the hip away from the body and then bringing it closer to the body. Keeping the foot down, rotating into a squat, and then coming back up. Those are the 3 planes where we're getting hip and ankle mobility. And then lastly, to potentiate the nervous system, we're actually gonna reflect the mechanics or the specific mechanics that we're gonna be utilizing during the training session. So if you notice, it goes from not specific to exactly what we're doing, or very specific in the potentiating the nervous system. So what I have here is, I would actually begin to run at a submax pace from my goal pace. In other words, that slower pace that I've set out, that I want to, from the pace I actually want to accomplish once I actually fully begin running, for about half a mile to a mile, or even a quarter mile to a mile. For the lower body lift, I want to go ahead and take a 50 to 60% of that external load that I'm going to be utilizing for resistance. In other words, if I'm going to do a barbell back squat, and my goal is to hit 200 on my first set, I'm going to warm up with 100 and hit a couple of reps or several reps before I actually go into my first actual set of the goal of 200 pounds. I hope you enjoyed this educational video and understand the importance of a warm-up and how to properly execute one. For more information on our health and wellness content, please visit us at homebase.org. Also, don't forget to share us on your social media for friends and family, and don't forget to follow us on our social media at Homebase Program. Thank you and happy Tuesday.